where are you at mentally in your hunt? We're talking about that and gear with Gary Killingsworth and Matt Johnson of the Gun Talk team right now. Welcome into a very special Gun Talk hunt. I know every one of them seems very special, but we have a dynamite show for you today. On the show today, we've got two additional Gun Talk members in the house. So they're in the studio. It's Gary Killingsworth on the far left. You're right if you're listening to the radio, and smack dab in the middle of us,
always far.
Your host KJ is Matt Johnson.
Always in the middle.
Always in the middle. You just kind of always end up there.
Yeah.
You're neither left nor you're right. You're right.
I'm
in
the
middle.
little guy in the middle.
You do. I was looking at our framing in this shot, and I look enormous. And you're not. You're not a small guy. It's I think it must be the plaid shirt.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
That's right.
But it's so damn humid down here.
It is. My gosh, we're in the heat of it.
Yeah,
right now, and you guys couldn't have picked a better time to come up now, or come down, I guess. You guys are from up north.
Right.
Well, just real briefly, let's go down the line. We're going to start with Gary. Gary, just explain kind of your role in Gun Talk and what you do here.
Yep.
What exactly do you do here?
What is it that you do here? So I'm the digital manager for Gun Talk. So I'm based in Oregon. Yeah, and I know we've joked about that. Yeah, we've talked about that before.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So websites, pixels, those kinds of things.
The didgeridoos or digital
he's
dudes.
the SEO guy.
He is. And I will tell you this.
You see something wrong on guntalk.com,
blame Gary.
I did it.
Yeah. Blame Gary, not me.
Yeah.
But if you have been keeping up with Gun Talk for the past a little over a year, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's been a little over a year.
Yeah, about a year and a half.
You will have noticed a great improvement on all of our platforms, our especially our website, and he does a great job.
Thanks.
Matt, what exactly do you do?
Yeah. TPS reports. No.
I did have a job like that once.
Right? Oh God.
I seriously did.
Really?
Dead serious.
I could never do that job.
And it was so fun. Yeah. It's so funny because it was my first job out of college, and I was like, oh man, got to go get a job. Here I go. I got it. With I'm going to go ahead and name them because I don't think they exist anymore. Cicada Corp. And they did.
That sounds made up.
It does it not?
Yeah.
Well,
that's
they
an Initech for sure.
Yeah. They ended up getting all their work slotted out to India. So I would research companies to make sure it was valid.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. And so it was legit TPS reports. Funny thing is, I got laid off with a giant severance package for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And in 2 months, the entire company moved operations to India. No one else got no one else got the paycheck.
So all that coming in on Saturday paid off.
Right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to need that.
All right. We're good back to Matt.
So I manage partnerships for all the Gun Talk properties. So whether it be the website or Guns and Gear TV, Gun Talk Hunt here, Gun Talk Nation Live. So I get the benefit of literally talking to everybody in the industry about their marketing plans and efforts and that kind of stuff. I do it from my house up in Minnesota.
And he hunts a lot. I think all three of us really hunt a lot. Yeah. But on the notes of sponsorships and partners working with us,
give my partner some love.
Hey, this Gun Talk hunt is brought to you by Benelli, Tetra Hearing, Brownells, serious about firearms since 1939. I think we all know that. Yep. And Lockdown, secure your lifestyle. But we thank them. We thank you for your partnership, and we thank you for believing in us. Just believe in us.
That's right.
We're getting this going.
Yeah.
Now, Gary, we've spent the last couple weeks talking about gear.
Yeah.
Really kind of Antelope hunting gear and the early season gear. That's really kind of what we've all been talking about.
Yep.
And when you get us three in a room together, that's kind of where we start gravitating towards. And we're all going on this antelope hunt.
Yep.
And Matt,
and first one for me.
It's my first goat.
Yeah.
My first true, I'll say true Western hunt. I mean, I've hunted Western South Dakota 4 times in my life, but we're headed out to Wyoming where it's Western South Dakota is many listeners and people watching know is Badlands territory.
Right.
And so where I've hunted has always been a crossover of the whitetails and mule deer. Where we're going now, I don't know how many whitetails you'll find out there.
I haven't seen one yet.
Okay. So plains of Wyoming, Douglas, and area. So
yeah. I will say, like, mule deer in Wyoming is the one that I haven't been able to achieve yet. I didn't get drawn out this year. But I always, like, every trip, I usually see one giant. One year I saw a mule deer, beautiful mule deer, probably a, mid 160s, something like that, except he had a huge drop tine. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Laying under a tree in town.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny how I've seen that in Wyoming. Yeah.
Yeah, but the smart deer would do that, right?
Right.
Until they get shot out of a truck with a suppressor at night.
Right.
But we've been talking about this, and we were kind of, man, it's getting close. We're almost a month out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought this would be a good time to talk about you guys and the first experience and what you guys are looking forward to. And you also said that you've been on a couple forums, Matt.
Yeah.
Talking to guys that are headed out there too. What are you hearing?
Yeah, it's funny. Just through random, like just finding out, just as I'm getting ready for it, going on social media and tracking it and talking to people. There's a number of guys going out there. One guy I really got talking to, he's headed out there for the archery season. So he's headed out a week or 2 weeks before us. But there are a lot of guys who are surprised at how much public land is actually available, because the 2 or 3 people I've talked to so far are all doing private outfitter hunts for antelope. And the one thing I was excited about this one is when we got talking to you is I've always known more. I mean, you can outfit hunt anything you want. Right. But I've always been told, antelope is a great way to do DIY public land because there's goats everywhere out there.
Yeah.
And so guys are excited about it, and they've been dry. And so they know their success is going to be more on the water holes, which is typical archery style out there. But the conversation always turns into, what am I supposed to be prepared for? And I'm like, don't ask me. I'm fortunate enough where I'm driving out. Right. So being in Minnesota, I'm close enough where I'm going to drive out with Thomas Allen, who's going with us. So I'm packing for everything. I'm packing cold gear. What I mean by packing everything is I'm going to pack a set of heavier clothes and obviously the lighter clothes.
You don't need that.
But it's like, you never know, man. And I've got a truck, so I can pack it.
Well, but you've got Thomas Allen coming with you too. And if you've listened to this show at all, Thomas Allen likes to bring everything in his closet. So my advice to you is
don't bring it.
As our editor, Michael Davis says, he says, oh, I wish there was this utensil that I have that I could immediately pull up information at any point from across the globe. So you look at your weather and you go, oh, it's going to be 80 degrees in the afternoons and it's going to be 50 degrees in the morning.
You can't trust that.
No, yes, you can. Come on. You could absolutely trust that. That's exactly what I'll do.
Gary, hold on a minute. I think we can trust them because they told us coming down, it's like, it's going to rain every day in the afternoon here, somewhere between 2 and 4 o'clock. It's going to rain.
That's true.
And it's rained every day here in New Orleans, every afternoon.
On the hour.
We're pretty dang close, and we're not weathermen.
Yeah.
We go outside, we look up, and we go, yep, gonna rain.
Yeah.
But no, hunting out west, it's a lot of fun. This will be my 8th one. I was sitting there and I was moving around offices. My wife's moving into my man cave. Yes, I gave up my man cave. I know it's hard to believe. And it's, it was actually.
You got an antelope hunt out of it.
Sometimes she listens to this show. Come on, man. You're killing me. But I gave up because she works from home, and I felt so bad because she was like, I don't know what, I'm just not happy with my office. And I'm like, sweetheart, your office literally is in our bedroom. She has a desk in our bedroom. And I'm like, you need to move offices. And so I gave up the man cave. I was like, hey, that's the best place for her. Yeah. And cause I just get to go in there and I'll, tinker with, guns and bows getting blown up and all that good stuff. So I gave that up. And so now you're right. I get to go on an antelope hunt. It was pretty easy. But I was counting up all the antelope. I was like, oh, that was a good one. Oh man, that was a really, really good one. And I could remember each one of them because, antelope, like in a lot of the pictures, they all kind of look the same.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, but when you get really into it and you start looking at their horn structure, it's actually a lot different.
Well, that's one of the things I'm looking forward to the most is knowing very little about it, but being interested in doing it for a long time is being able to judge animals.
Yeah.
Learning how.
Yeah.
I think that's inherent of every hunter out there.
Yeah.
Is like, being out in Oregon, you hunt, a lot elk, and then you've got blacktails out there.
Mostly blacktail. Well, mule deer.
Mule deer and blacktails, that's typically what you hunt out there. And so I'm the Midwestern guy, so it's always whitetails. But we get to know and judge our animals, or the species, I should say.
Right.
And so whenever we're going something new, it's like, well, how do I know? How do I know? Because
but here's the deal.
I'm trying to not go there because I don't want it to ruin my hunt. Because everyone says you need to just go and shoot and enjoy it and take it. It's like, I get it, but at the same time, it's like, this is a first. I kind of want to know what's good and what's great.
Well, here's the deal. How do you know if it's a good one? How do you know? I'm just asking you.
For me, it's going to be the first one that I can see from 100 yards.
Holy crap.
It's exactly it.
One appears.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
No, you're going to know it because when you go, oh my gosh, like that, that you first, and you're going to, but the beauty with you, Matt, is when you're driving, when you hit that line, you're going to start seeing them. And then you're going to be judging each one of them when you see it.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're going to know by the time you get up there what type of class of animal that we're looking at.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's one of the more exciting things about it is that it's the unknown.
Yep.
Because seriously, last year when we took Ryan and it was his first Western big game hunting experience, like do it yourself.
Yeah.
He like the first morning, I don't know how we did it, but I was like, I kind of saw one. I was like, he's by himself. That's a pretty good sign. Like, he's on the move looking for the ladies.
Right.
And like Ryan, I was like, Ryan, do you want it? Because honestly, like I was like, I hope he says he doesn't want it because that's a really good one.
I'll take that
and
one.
I was like, I'm going to take that one.
Yeah.
And so he ended up taking it. And it was like he was done within the first hour of the hunt.
Yeah.
And we have like 2 more days left. And I was like, well, it's all me. It's all up to me.
I'll take my time.
Yeah. Right. And I did. And I think one thing that a lot of guys headed out west don't think about is that, and we haven't talked about this yet. I probably have mentioned it to you guys, is that when you head out on public land, and you guys both have hunted public land a lot.
Yep.
Like probably more than me.
I mean, almost exclusively.
Right.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem that you have to deal with is you have to not only hunt the animal, you also have to adjust your style and game plan according to other hunters.
Sure.
And that's one of those things where I don't think a lot of guys think about. I think they get into an area and they say, this is my area. Yeah, what happens if, like, you're like me when I shot the 24-hour goat and I was at the hunting spot where I wanted to start because I had mapped this out, 2 months in advance. Like, this is where I'm starting. And as we all know, like, duck hunters are notorious for this. I've got to get there first. Yep. So in my mentality is, okay, I'll be sitting at my spot at 3:00.
Yeah.
And I'll just nap in the truck. Yeah. Which is it's kind of odd, but if you put your mindset in there that you have to, if I got there and someone was there was a certain like sportsmanship. Sure. I believe.
Should be.
Yeah. That if I go in and I see a guy there. Yeah. What's the logical move?
You're going to back out.
Go to plan B.
Yeah.
Right.
Like at least in my mind it is. Yeah. That's where I think everybody should be.
Yep.
Because they're dealing with the same thing you are.
Right. Yeah.
But it is what it is. So what other gear, Matt, and this is Matt Johnson of the Gun Talk team, and I'm talking with Gary Killingsworth also. What gear are you not leaving home without?
Shooting sticks. Because I can shoot offhand out of a tree stand just fine, 200 yards.
Yeah.
But I know that the odds of me shooting over 100 yards out there are very good. And so for me, just from a confidence standpoint, I'm going to make sure I've got a set of shooting sticks.
But here's the deal. Like, you take those are a piece of gear that I go everywhere with. Like, those should be every guy out there listening to this, every gal out there listening to this, invest in your shooting sticks.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a pile of them. I mean, there is a pile of them out there. I mean, last year when I took my kids with for the first time, them shooting behind the gun. I made sure I had a set of shooting sticks in the tree stand with me because we don't shoot off a gun rail.
Right.
And so there are ladder stands, but there's no shooting rail up there. So I had a shooting stick with me. That's the first time I've ever used it whitetail hunting myself.
Really?
Just because where I hunt in Minnesota, it's the longest shot I'm going to have and the kids will ever have is about 100 yards. I mean, we're not sitting on a field edge looking at a 300-yard field.
Yeah.
Where I hunt public land, like Gary mentioned before, is I grew up public land, northern Minnesota. It's a 3 square mile chunk of woods. Yeah. So it's like I'm big wood deer hunting, you know? Yeah. So, I mean, it's funny. I bow hunt and it's like, man, you got to get close. And it's like, shit, my longest deer kill with a rifle up there has been 125 yards.
Yeah.
Average shot on a deer up there that I've killed is 45. And so I've had people ask me, it's like, so why don't you just bow hunt? It's like, if you saw the woods, you'd know that I'm not going to bow hunt.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway,
exactly.
So I'm new to the shooting stick side of it. But after last year, I was like, I see why you made the comment of, okay, shooting sticks are important because I've already swapped out and bought a better set for the kids to use this year.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it starts to tilt the variables towards your favor.
Yes.
One less thing to think about and stability. And
that's exactly it. Is with the kids, it was more about they're just not strong enough to hold the entire gun up.
And
So where I look at it is like, I know I can shoot offhand, but if I'm shooting offhand at 250 yards, even a slight wobble is going to be a 3-inch miss downrange versus just a little bit here.
Exactly. I'm going to jump in right quick. We've got some great sponsors with us, but we're going to go ahead and give them a shout out real quick. All right, Gun Talk Hunt is brought to you by Lockdown. Okay, we all know Lockdown. They provide a bunch of great safe accessories, but Lockdown went even more high-tech with their Logic line of Wi-Fi enabled security products. This is protect your guns, your firearms, your loved ones, all around. But the Puck Gen 2 Logic Smart Plug, the Logic Secure Camera that they just launched, and the Logic Vault Door secure everything from your gun safe, your toolbox, even your home with Lockdown Logic's line. Visit lockdown.com and use the code GUNTALK10 for 10% off site-wide. Also by Benelli. For 10 years, Benelli engineers worked on a full redesign of the Super Black Eagle platform. We all know and love the Super Black Eagle 2. And I will tell you right now, today was my first time shooting the Super Black Eagle 3, and I was completely impressed by what I saw. The improved ergonomics, flawless functionality, and an updated design for modern waterfowling or sporting clays, which is what I was doing with it. The Benelli SBE 3 inertia-driven shotgun is available in both 12 and 20 because I shot both with features like an oversized bolt handle and easy loading system. Find out more at BenelliUSA.com. And by Tetra Hearing, audiologist. These are ear doctors, okay? For all us out there listening and saying, what in the heck is an audiologist? That's a guy who inspects your ears and makes sure they're functioning. And hearing is one of those perishable items on your body that you really can't get out. There's no LASIK surgery for your ears. So protecting them is of the utmost importance. And Tetra Range Alpha Shields are the ticket, a new premium hearing protection for the range that reduces gun blast to safe decibel levels while allowing you to talk back and forth to those around you, which keeps us all safe. Please visit tetrahearing.com and use the code GUNTALK at checkout for 15% off. That's a pretty sweet deal. And Brownells. Oh yeah, Brownells. They're at it again. And if you're ready to hit the range or the field but lacking a little bit of ammunition, Brownells has you covered, which is awesome. Whether you're feeding your rifle, your shotgun, or your pistol, or if you're from the bench or the range to the field, Brownells is your number one resource from 5.56 223 65 Grindle, 308 17 HMR, 243 Winchester, and everything in between. Yes, all the way up to 50 BMG. They've got it covered. Fill your tag and put more game in your freezer with Brownells. Get your ammo now at brownells.com/ammunition. Okay, we're back. Oh, okay. Now we talk a little bit about shooting sticks, and this is a great jumping off point because when we go out, typically what we do in Western big game hunting, especially on the antelope side, is we'll hunt in teams. And I think that's a really good one. It increases your like visibility to other hunters.
Sure.
And I think, you know, the more eyes we have out there, the better. Watching out for each other, making sure we're safe, making sure we're doing it right. I always have one guy on the GPS.
Yep.
Because I swear to you, and you guys will see this, those antelope know where boundaries are.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's possible, but it is, because you could be looking out across a piece of property and you're like, oh, that antelope's he's on public.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you put a 2-hour stalk on him, and then you're getting closer to that line going, he is literally 50 yards over the line. And that's and it's
just looking at you.
Yeah, just looking at you, like he's like sticking his tongue out you, like, you know, and it's infuriating, but it's fun in the same sense. But I think on the shooting stick side, where that comes into play is, let's say we're all three hunting in the same group. So I'll be on a GPS. Gary, you're spotting for him. So I'm basically in the back.
Right.
Matt, you're carrying a pair of shooting sticks. You're carrying a pair of shooting sticks also, Gary.
Yeah.
Therefore, so what you do is, let's say it's a 350-yard shot.
Right.
Can't get any closer. So what I like to do is, so I'll lock the gun in on the front shooting rest, shooting sticks, and in the back, we'll use the shooting sticks Gary has to rest the butt of the gun.
Gotcha.
Right. Then it's like, man, there's no... And that's when, if you miss, everyone in that group makes fun of you.
That's you. That's all you.
That's Trigger Man.
I had, and I think I've told this story before. I'm not sure if I told you guys. The first time I went out antelope hunting in Wyoming, I took a trailer. You know, I took everything.
Sure.
Same thing you're thinking about doing, Matt. This was my warning to you.
Right.
I didn't use like half the stuff in there that I thought I would, you know. It was the worst hunting. Like, I felt like I was a newbie. Like, and I had never shot a gun before, didn't know how to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
I was yanking triggers left and right. And it mentally got to me.
Yeah.
And have you guys ever been in a situation where like nothing ever goes right and you're just in a rut? And that was that that hunt. And I mean, it started off the first morning. First morning.
It's trying to shake out of a slump. Right?
It is.
Sports analogy, right? Everything's going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, it got bad. Yeah. I had to send a pair of, they're not a sponsor of the show, but thank you for their customer support. But Bushnell, I had to send a pair of binoculars back to them because I slung them like 50 yards. I was done.
Yeah.
Like, so I had the first morning, the sun peaks up, and we had noticed a big group of antelope. I mean, with a just toad in it. Like he still is the biggest antelope that I ever had my sights on. Like, and he was a very nice, respectable public land goat.
Yeah.
I would have mounted that. I mean, he would have been on the wall. Like, I mean, center display type deal, giant. It was a heavy, steep downward angle, and I shot right over the top of him 3 times.
Yeah.
At 80 yards.
At 80.
And like how this plateau was and where I was at, they ran around to my left, and I missed him again at 150 yards.
They're everywhere.
They're surrounding me at this point, and they're just daring me.
We're safe here.
Yeah. And so at that point, I was like, you know what? I had my opportunity, pass off the next guy, one shot, boom, knocks him down.
Yeah. Yep.
Next guy, boom, knocks him down. Yeah. And I'm like, it's just me.
Right.
A day and a half left, and it's just me.
Yep. But you learned so much from failure. Like
I didn't.
But you've thought about every single thing that went wrong since.
Everything.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot of I learned a lot of valuable lessons. One that I kind of suck at antelope hunting, but it was a humbling experience. And I mean, when I'm talking, I'm in a slump. Like, please don't feel like I'm like this professional hunter. I miss all the time.
Yeah,
like I miss all the time. Yeah. I think it was by the time that I finally put an antelope on the ground, I went through a box of ammo. Yeah. Shooting solid, rested, like time to breathe shots.
Yeah.
Nothing rushed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like this was all mental to me, and mental in my, and nothing past 200 yards.
Yeah. And you knew you couldn't question your gear or your rifle at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
No, because I brought 2 rifles and both of them were missing.
Yeah.
And I verified when I got back home, both of them were dead on. It was all mental.
Yep.
But I'm telling you, like I vowed to myself, like on the final one before I actually shot my antelope, he was 150 yards and he was just sitting there staring at me. And I was kind of up on a hill, not as quite a steep of like incline, but he was sitting there just watching me. Like, what's that guy up there doing? Because it sure ain't shooting.
This guy throwing his binoculars.
I did. Like I chunked him. I said, I'm done. We're going back to the truck. We're driving back to Oklahoma like tonight. Like I'm done.
Yep.
Like I couldn't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
Driving back, and it's so frustrating. Driving back, and there's this little triangular piece of public, and on the backside it's private, but like it was like 300 yards back, and so there was a perfect hill. So I saw this antelope kind of just crest this hill, just kind of feeding with a group.
Yeah.
And I waltzed my butt up there, and I peeked over, and I kid you not, dude was at like 60 yards looking right at me. Like, what the heck is that?
Well, who's he?
Hey, threw my gun, not thinking, shooting 6, boom, blasted him, drops. That was my one shell. No. I had 2 shots left.
Yeah.
I had 2 shots left. First shot, boom, dropped him.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm like, done.
Yeah.
He gets up.
No.
And I'm just going, no. Oh, no, please don't.
This next one's really got to count.
It's really got to count. Squeeze the round off, miss.
Oh, no.
And he goes over and he beds down on another piece of public that butted up right up against it, but it was almost landlocked except for one corner piece.
Oh, sure.
Like, and he had to know, like, but he was still on public, and I didn't have any rounds left. And I was like, I know there are rounds in my truck. I was like, give me 2 rounds. So I took 2 rounds. I was like, go get my other gun back at camp. So the guys drove 40 minutes round trip, and it was an hour and a half. I was on the gun watching this antelope, just waiting for him to stand up at 100 yards.
Yeah.
So I could make sure that I had a perfect shot. He stands up as the guy's walking over with my gun, and this was like a big M&P 15T, like giant, like it was like a 16-pound gun.
Yeah.
And he's carting it out in the field, like looking for me, and he can't see me, but the goat sees him, stands up, press the trigger, boom, right back down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, done.
Yeah.
I was like, get me out of this state.
Wow.
So it can be a mental game.
Sure.
It completely is. I've been more in that. I've had that happen more times bow hunting than I have gun hunting.
Yeah.
Because whenever I've traveled, I've always traveled to go bow hunting. I've gun hunted Minnesota, but I've never gone out of state gunning. So this was my first out of state gun hunt. But that's where I've learned that lesson, just bow hunting.
Yeah.
And I've learned so much more bow hunting than I have ever. My bow hunting has made me a better gun hunter.
Yeah.
And on the gun, I haven't had as many misses like that because
Gee, thanks.
I
haven't had as many misses like that
because I've missed it with my bow.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah.
Knock on wood, I've missed more cleanly with my bow, but it's just taught you to be more patient because.
And that's it.
And that's where. But man, the mental game is such a big part, and that's where I say bow hunting has helped me because, for me, my range bow hunting is 40 yards. Yeah. It's just I know that if it's 40 or under.
Game
Give
over.
or take, it's game over. I've got it.
Done.
Right?
You're comfortable there.
But when I see a deer and I range it, all of a sudden it's at 63, and now all of a sudden it's a mind game. It's just like now I see it. It's like, and you're mentally. We were talking about this morning when we were shooting sporting clays. When you see it, you know it's like I know what to do, but I need to react versus sit there and think about it. Right?
Yeah.
As soon as you think about it, you're 25% done.
Right.
Yeah. Right. You're behind the 8 ball at that point.
Yes.
Yeah. You've overanalyzed. And
Yeah.
And I think a a lot of the folks out there listening to this, and they're probably like, "Oh my gosh, these guys how do they have a hunting podcast?
How do they kill anything?"
It's because we've done a lot of dumb stuff, and we try to learn from it. But I mean, Gary, you're up in the big hardwoods, so I bet it's just as frustrating for you because like at least when I miss an animal, I know like, yep, missed that one, gone.
Right.
You're dealing with more volume.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, we talked about on another podcast. I mean, for us, up west, you can go days between sightings.
I can't imagine that. I'm going to tell you right now,
it's a different game.
Wyoming, target rich environment.
Yeah.
Target rich.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think also that folks have to understand is the antelope do know those boundaries, and I would like to do it this year, and I don't know if we'll have time. Maybe we will. I think we will, but I'd like to knock on a few doors. Like I would like, because I'm telling you what, you will see herds of 40, 50 antelope in a field.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at that, it's kind of like, why isn't anybody? Well, maybe no one's asked.
Right. It could be. Yeah.
Maybe the guy just wants
to learn that they're safe there.
Right. Exactly. Well, and the food's there. Like there's barley or oats or something like that. But I think a lot of guys get into like, well, they're on private, can't hunt that. Well, have you asked?
Yeah. Right.
And I think the power of a good ask is important, and that's one thing Thomas Allen has taught me. He's very good at it. I mean, he does everything. Like he has business cards made out just to leave behind.
Oh, sure.
For the ask.
Yep.
Yeah. And if someone tells him no, or I mean, I've been told no a lot. It's not the time to get upset about it.
Right.
It's like, you can't go, well, why not?
Yeah.
Right. It's my land.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The answer was,
I said so.
Yeah. I said so.
It's kind of like talking to your kids. But why?
Yeah.
Because I said
so.
Yeah.
Exactly. But no, it will be a fun time. I think, Gary, what piece of gear are you bringing?
I mean, when you guys were talking about gear and like what's important, for me is definitely going to be layers. And I don't know what, I don't know what yet, because we need to talk through it and look at conditions and whatnot. But I get in my head a lot about everything. Yeah. And I feel like,
oh, I'm underdressed. Oh, no.
Yeah. And it's just, worrying about getting too hot or getting too cold. But I mean, even beyond that, I mean, down to, your hard equipment itself, but just being as comfortable as possible, because I don't want to think about it. I want it to be, as my gear to be an extension of myself, to where I'm not thinking about it at all, and just can soak in the experience. I mean, the terrain, the animals, the fun times, the laughs, all those things that go with a good hunt.
I will tell you this. It's a weird feeling to be putting a stock on an antelope and there be 18-wheelers driving by you on these dirt county roads and oil gas roads.
Yeah.
That took me a while to get used to.
Yeah.
But it's public road, it's, public access, and, there's oil fields back there.
Right.
And so there's traffic.
Yeah.
And so you'll be sitting there, I'm going to be really sneaky on this antelope. Like, I'm going to be sneaking up to him. And all of a sudden,
big rigs behind
big rigs going by, and you're like, why don't I just walk?
Yeah.
That takes some getting used to.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, like, I've had guys pull over and stop.
Yeah.
And watch.
To watch
And
your
watch.
stock.
And watch the stock. And they'll just be, and I'm like, great, now the pressure's on.
Right.
Yeah.
Now
I can't perform.
Right. Get a lawn chair and a beer and just well, look at this guy.
Yeah. They start the slow clap.
Rolls the window down, the spotting scope comes out. It's like, all right, buddy, here you go.
Yeah. But and we'll get checked by the game warden out there, 2 or 3 times, which, carry your tags with you.
Yep.
Watch it, keep that GPS on you, and you'll be squared away.
Yeah. Yep.
So but all good stuff. We're gonna take it in. We're gonna have some more. I guarantee you, there's gonna be more hunt podcast over this subject, because as we get closer is the time we need to start talking about our digital scouting, and a lot of that is based off of history. But why? We need to get down to the why is this little piece of public ground that maybe only 30 acres, more important than this one that's 700.
And that's the part where I've started doing a little bit of that and that's the part that baffles me right now, right? Because like when I went to Western South Dakota, I was like, okay, if I'm going for mule deer, I know I'm looking for the canyons and the creeks and Little Valley, whatever else. And if it's a whitetail, it's like, okay, where's that hardwood river bottom? It's like, I can find that on an aerial map really good, but it's like going to Wyoming for antelope, which are plains game.
And
so
they're
what
everywhere.
makes this plain spot better than that? And so when you look at an aerial map, it's like, it's even terrain difference doesn't make a whole lot of difference, but
it's brown,
right? Yeah. But at the same time, an antelope isn't tall. Right. So even a little 2-3 foot rise, they can sneak behind that. And it's like, okay, you can't see that very well from an aerial map.
Right. And that's where it's going to start to get tricky because I've got one spot that we're going to start out on that is the sweet spot. I don't know what it is, and it sits right in the center of it. So it is sweet. And I think I've got a couple, and I'll just tease it because you're going to have to keep listening. I've got a couple of theories on why it's so good.
Okay.
Because no one knows about it.
Nice.
All right. That's it for us at Gun Talk Hunt. Gary Killingsworth and Matt Johnson, thank you so much for being here, guys. And thank you for coming down and enjoying the beautiful humidity down here in Louisiana.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, guys. That's it for us on Gun Talk Hunt podcast. Thanks for listening. And always keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction.